Excuse me. Excuse me? I hope I'm not crowding you.
No.
I would have taken another seat, but the lines are too long for anyone to ride by themselves. They force you to be a couple, whether you want to be one or not. Not that I mind. I mean, it's a pleasure. Are you comfortable?
I'm fine. We're off.
Are you all right?
Just fine.
Are you sure?
Couldn't be better.
But you're not looking.
No. Heights. I'm frightened of heights.
And you ride a Ferris wheel.
Just once a year. On my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Your knuckles are turning white. Are you sure that's good for your circulation?
So what doesn't kill me makes me stronger, type of thing.
So you do this in lieu of a birthday party with cake and ice cream?
Well, I do that too, just when I'm through. Like a reward.
But you go through this first.
My daddy started it, and I keep it up.
And he's frightened of heights?
No, he just thought that you should do something that frightens you. At least once a year. Builds character, strengthens moral fiber. You ought to try it sometime.
I am riding.
No, doing something that you're frightened of. This doesn't count if you're not frightened of heights. I had this cousin once. She tried to pretend like she was frightened of being in small spaces until she got locked in the attic during a thunderstorm, and guess what happened? Lightning struck that building and it burned to the ground.
So she's frightened of fire.
Oh no, she's dead. You can't go messing with things like this.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
Whoa.
You okay?
I'm fine. You're not from around here?
No, I just passing through. I saw the wheel, and I drove on over. That's my little red car, right down there.
Oh my God, what just happened?
Looks like we stopped.
Why?
We seem to be stuck.
Don't do that!
Do what?
Don't move! You're rocking the car. Please, don't rock the car.
Sorry. They're probably just making an adjustment. We'll be moving again any minute.
Yeah. Yes, we should be rolling any minute now.
Would you care for a cigarette? Calm your nerves.
Me? No, I don't smoke. Do you?
Not if you don't want me to.
No, it doesn't bother me. You know, when I was younger, I went to this demonstration with an invisible man, and they put this plastic sack off the bottom of his windpipe, and they said that it is an exact duplicate of the human lung tissue. And then they put a lit cigarette into his mouth. And we all watched the smoke slowly trickle down that windpipe into the lung sac. And then it started bubbling and popping, disintegrating right before our very eyes until there was nothing left but a brown, dripping glob hanging off the bottom of that windpipe. And they said that that is what happens to a tiny bit of your lung every time you take a puff. So I don't care to smoke myself, but if you want to, go right ahead.
I was thinking of giving it up. Now would be as good a time as any.
Once you do, it's best not to take it back. Remember my poor dead cousin.
I don't need a cigarette.
Good.
It's probably just mechanical.
Mechanical? We could be up here for days.
No.
It is possible.
Anything's possible.
God,
Why don't you open your eyes?
I'm frightened of heights.
Lean back. Look up.
Lean back and look up.
Lean back. Like you're in a field. On your back. Looking up. There's nothing scary about that.
Lean back and look up. Leaning back, looking up. Yes. Oh God, it's gonna rain. What are we gonna do if it rains? This whole thing is gonna rust over solid and we'll be stuck up here forever.
It's not gonna rain. My knee locks up when it rains. See, it's fine.
Don't move!
Sorry.
So much for my luck. I should have checked my horoscope.
We're going to be okay. All right. I'm gonna be okay. This isn't so bad.
Oh, it's bad. I knew this day was going to be bad, and the cream of my coffee curdled up. Looked like a relief map of the Himalayas.
It's easy. This is easy. Oh, I should have given it up years ago. How long has it been? You wouldn't happen to have any gum? Wrigley's Juicy Fruit, Double Mint?
Gum? No. My grandmother never allowed it. She thought it was... What are you doing?
Nothing.
You're moving.
I'm not moving.
You're twitching?
Twitching.
Oh my God.
I'm not twitching.
What if they make us climb out on a ladder? I can't climb out on a ladder. Oh, I'm gonna be sick.
Breathe. Mind over matter. Visualization. A stream. Peaceful. Calm. You wouldn't happen to have a Tic Tac. Lifesaver cracker?
We should quit mentioning food. That's like talking about going to the bathroom when you're in a car riding down the highway.
I thought of that.
Well, you are easy to talk to. I could talk to you all day. You're gonna bite those nails clear down to the nub if you're not careful.
It's just a hangnail.
Yeah, well, I had a roommate in school, got gangrene from an infected hangnail. I had to have that finger cut off.
That cousin of yours who decided not to keep this pact, you said she died?
Oh, deader than a doornail. They say that poor little body was charred beyond all.
Stop. I'll pay you $100 if you don't say another word.
Oh, I could never take money from a stranger. My mother used to tell me that once you do, it's like...
It's so hot. Is it hot up here? I feel hot. Do you feel hot?
No.
Well, how could you feel anything? You haven't stopped talking since we sat down. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm boring you.
You're not boring me. I haven't stopped smoking. I've been smoking since I was 12 years old.
No, you are right. I do talk too much. I always have. Especially when I'm scared or nervous. You know, sometimes I get so wound up, I can feel myself just floating up over my body, and I just want to reach down and smack myself and say, shut up, shut up, shut up. Like now. I'm sorry. My name is Dorian. People call me Dory.
Pleased to meet you. Dory. I'm John.
Oh my God.
Lean back. Look up. Better?
Yes. I'm sorry about the smoking.
Oh, I need to give it up anyway. Sooner or later.
Well, I bet your wife will be happy.
I'm not married.
No?
You?
Me? No. No. But you, I just assumed.
Divorced. Traveling salesman. Only she couldn't take the traveling, so she moved on.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you get used to being alone, you get over it, you adjust.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Well, I don't even mind eating alone anymore. As long as I have something to read, like a TV guide or a book or a magazine, it doesn't really matter. What did you do that for?
I don't know. I thought if I kissed you, you'd stop talking for just a moment.
I wasn't talking.
No. My lips. I had to do something with my lips.
Oh, so you didn't mean anything personal by it then? It was just sort of a reflex action.
It wasn't just reflex. I enjoyed it.
So did you? Oh my God, what was that?
We seem to be moving.
Oh God.
It won't be long now. They're letting us off one by one.
You don't think they'll make us go around again?
No.
They'll probably close it down for good.
This is us.
Yes. It's been a pleasure. Oh, you better get going and have that cigarettes. I'm gonna get going.
Dory,
Yeah.
will you be coming back next year?
It is a tradition. And, you know, my family, we're keen on tradition.
So while they're breaking things down, let's see where we're at. Oh, yes, that's where we were. So just real quickly while we have our audience, and then we'll release you guys. Any questions, comments for our actors from what you saw? No, yes, William.
Lovely to see. Yes. There's some people I know in here, and it's fun to see them, you know, as far as evolving into their character, which was vastly different from what I see them as people when I interact with them. So I saw some lovely characterization there in just how they reacted and how they moved in the scene. Very nice.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, I agree. Any other questions or comments?
I would just say nicely done. I mean, considering that you have 6 weeks instead of 16 in a normal semester when you've got acting classes twice a week and all of that good stuff for 16 weeks, you did some really good stuff. I know some of those plays, so I know I know the extent. So kudos, well done.
Good use of body language and being comfortable, allowing space, not feeling like you always had to rush, giving your scene partner that time, the looks, the moments,
Yeah.
And then always though making sure that you're picking up cues, not letting it a couple times,
Sure.
rest too long. But I'm glad that everybody explored the use of their physicality.
Yeah. And one of the core things, again, this is an acting 1 class, one of the core sort of elements, which seems really simple. How do I actually talk and listen in a truthful way, moment to moment to moment? And I think for some in the class, it's about heightening the stakes and things like that. But for others, it was a lot about you don't have to act. So you go through a process as well of like just learning how to be on stage with another human being, and really only the reactions come from what they offer to you. So in an acting 1 class, that's a huge core of what people are learning how to do, versus what maybe we were taught when we were kids, which is like, look, you're happy. I mean, that's what a lot of when we come into acting classes, what we're trying to do this work, that's a big piece of what we're trying to do. And then we build out place, relationship, objective, tactics. Rhythms, of course, come really later, the rhythms of the scenes and how we do those sorts of things. And then, of course, when you have a director, they help to craft the rhythm. But I think, guys, for, again, 6 weeks, and we did, the way the class was crafted, everybody was given time within the class to work on the scenes. So that was one of the only big differences from the 16-week course that I liked, is that we had classes where we could literally work the scenes, not just even with individual coaching, but we could do a lot of exercises and explore scenes that in a 16-week class, we might be able to do a couple of that, but because we have a larger group, usually we have to spend that more on specific coaching. So yes.
This, I guess, is just a question to all the actors. How was Meisner for you guys? Did you guys do like one class devoted to Meisner and an intensive, like, was it all Meisner in one day, or was it all like we
I think you guys did Meisner in a day, and then we used the repetition. They still, so what the difference between how the fall, like the 16-week is, they do the AB scenes, they do the independent activity and the walking through the door, but again, it's not quite with the same sort of level of time spent on it. And then they did do repetition with their partners throughout. They may not have had as many partners with the repetition though to explore that. Does anybody in the class want to clarify that?
One of the things that is in the textbook that you brought out, being in the moment and being ready to improvise, or to not be surprised, to know your material. Dory, you had never taken that cigarette from me before.
Yeah, great.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Fantastic.
That energized me. That was really cool. When did you just do that, or did you?
Sometime, what is this Thursday? So sometime between Tuesday and Thursday, I started thinking about ways to make the stories bigger.
Yeah.
Because she is really invested in her stories. It's really the only time that she's even interested in a John character at all is when she's telling her stories. But you're in this confined space. Like, I don't know how to make these stories bigger. And so I thought, I just kind of thought about it this morning, like in the moment when you're trying to get somebody not to light that cigarette, what would you do? You can't move. You can't go across the room.
Right.
So I thought she'll tell this story. She'll use the story to just take it away.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Did you see that one coming?
Yeah.
And that's what I meant about everybody's physicality.
Yes.
That is difficult to do so quickly, and to have that moment, that space, all of the scenes. I mean, the first one was hard because they were limited by Shane's, but but even still, you still had those moments.
Well, and it's so much more about behavior. And I think we as actors, it's so interesting, just even like I just started a rehearsal process, and it's just we as actors, and sometimes even, it's like, in Alexander technique, it's called end gaining. It's where you go to the end. You want to get to the end. And the challenge for actors is that they do not take the time to truly explore the process, to really find all the nuances that could be there. And so we can, and if you get good enough as an actor, you can even fake the truth a little bit, and the audience might believe it, but you kind of know that you're not really in the moment, living and breathing every night, which ultimately, when you're doing 8 shows a week, that's really the joy of it. If you just get up there and you can just manufacture it. In this moment, again, it's ultimately about the audience, but for the actor to make those fresh discoveries, that's really, and it takes, of course, years to really get to where you're 100% in the moment, the plays where you're like, yep, I was fully there. I always say, like, if you get 75%, you're rocking, that you're not in your head thinking and you're really with your people on stage. Were you gonna add something, Helen?
Yeah, your character, complete 180.
Yeah.
It was, you were an entirely different person, and I loved it, and it worked, and it felt very, like, good for you. It wasn't very, like, showy. It was like, here. And I loved it. I don't know where she came from,
Thank you.
but we love her.
Ever since like the first time that we did it, it's been on my mind every minute of my day when I'm out in the world. I'm like, what is going on with this character? What is this character? And so it did kind of evolve into, frankly, somebody that's more like me. I gotta say, like I looked at her a lot different, going on like, oh, she's this sort of flighty, silly character, and then I did kind of come around like, well, if I'm the one playing her, I'm taking this character.
Well, and can I share a little bit about that? Just that Elizabeth had so again, the longer context of the play, first of all, they have a lot more time to connect. Obviously, we cut big chunks out, because it's actually even longer, and so it says 10-minute play. It's really more like a small one act. But one of the things you had with it is being a female and having a male come in. It's like, for a lot of females, that feels like, it doesn't feel friendly and joyous and, oh, I'm making a connection. It feels like you have trapped me. So that was something you were struggling with, because the text indicates that they do have to make a connection. So what I want to applaud both of you for is that I feel like you responded and at times became almost more polite to deal with how she was reacting. But at the same time, your character became truthful, and yet there was still this little sweet connection that happened. It doesn't have to be, someone else could play this scene and we could believe that the two of them are gonna meet next year and fall in love, and that would just be a different person. But I think you discovered humor and intricacies and kind of a quirkiness that was just authentic and real, and we believed it. And in kind, you responded to that. So that's the whole thing, is that there is just not one way. And again, this scene could go dark, and there's nothing wrong with that. All of these scenes are so filled with different possibilities, but that's the job of the actor. And it's, Shane has left, but one thing he shared, the thing of not being directed was like, you're not going to direct us? No, I'm not going to direct you. That's not. And for actors to become so autonomous that you are empowered, that you can take any direction, good, bad, and different, and you can make it truthful for yourself. That is the goal. The joke is you want to become director-proof, but it's the truth. Because you have a limited time. So that director has to think about 50 things, and you got to do your job. And then when you do your job, and they're like, great, I'm going to bring Helen back, because I don't have to work so, at the end of the day, in the professional world, I know Helen's going to show up and do her thing, so I can worry about lights and sound and blah, blah, blah. So that's really where you guys are headed. But I just think you all did lovely work. You grew a tremendous amount, seen so much from everybody. And I will say, looking at you all, everybody's working on different things. It doesn't matter for our audience, but you've all been given different things from me to focus on. So I really want to applaud you, because I saw you all working on those things. And Ethan and Erica did a great scene on Tuesday from Seminar, and again, both really stepped up in a way that was new and exciting, and so I just applaud you guys on that. You both really came in and did the work this semester. So so that's great. And Nicholas over there, again, you were working with a partner, and you were connecting and talking and listening, and that's what we can do, So.
I have one question for the actors.
Yeah.
Were any of you nervous?
Yeah. Anybody nervous? Well, so Nicholas, this was your first time on stage?
Maybe a lot of first timers or new.
Yeah, well, because you took a film class this spring. You want to,
Yeah.
Nicholas is new to us, but tell them how you came here
Yeah,
and
so-
why you're auditioning in the fall.
So yeah, I took film last semester, and I don't know, I like seeing myself on camera, so I thought like maybe this could be my future, so I was like, let me just take an acting class so I could learn some techniques and stuff like that. And I've learned a lot in this class, and I was kind of nervous. I was like, oh crap, I have an audience. It's not like, okay, when you, in film, like you have so many tries to like get it right, and you don't have an audience. Well, you have an audience after they done with all the editing process and stuff like that.
Amateur audience.
Yeah,
Play to that little.
But if you mess up, you can film it again.
exactly.
Versus a live audience where
You can't mess up.
But it gives you a different energy because, you know, there were moments we laughed at things that you said, and then all of a sudden, how did that, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
they responded.
Yeah,
How did that make you feel?
It got me excited a little bit. It felt really good. I wanted to do it again. I was like, why can I not do it again? I want to go back on stage. So I was really happy.
That's good. You can do it again. You can audition in August.
I have a question, but it's more in line with what something you did and said, and I thought, that has to come from somewhere, and is there another way that people do it? Because you hear this all the time, and action, and scene, and cut. Where does that kind of long drawn out, and like, everybody uses that in the theater world, right? I'm just talking,
Well, I think if it's actually to let the actors know it's rapping.
yes.
And so the idea, it's like for like music, the whole thing is I'm in the last moment with you and we're playing the moment. I'll play the moment until I hear cut. So I'm a big, whatever. I'm like moment before, moment after. You play until they say cut or until the lights. That's in your fingertips. And so I have a big thing about behavior. So sometimes the behavior might be a little longer at the moment, like the setup for the two of them, or things like that. But again, it's establishing what's happening in the behavior before we ever speak. And sometimes those are the most interesting moments of just that silent behavior. If people are really engaged, I mean, this was the thing, and I've told all of my students to go see Athena, but what I loved about Athena, the other thing we work on in Acting 1 is this thing of independent activity. What are you doing? So they had a really interesting challenge because they didn't have a lot of place. They had just that. But again, we had cigarettes, we had physicality, we had the teddy bear, your connection to the teddy bear, so all of those actions. But one of the things that I thought was most brilliant about Athena at Urbanite is the amount of actions and physicality, because at times they're having this verbal sparring, but it was much more dynamic because they were always doing something. They were never just talking. They were eating food, they were exercising, they were changing their clothes. So you're totally engaged because this multi-dimensional thing is happening. Actors get on a stage and they don't realize, oh, I have to think about what is unscripted. What am I doing in this place? I'm in a library. What's happening? How am I writing? So when I say place, it so much isn't about, Craig will do a pretty set design for them later, but you as an actor have to make that so real for yourself. I mean, back in my training days, I brought suitcases in from Queens into New York, and I did a play that I literally said, can I decorate all of the trinkets, because it was to be my home, and she ends up going insane, and so they let me because so I did all the little like menagerie, so I was connected to it. It just roots you more. So like and that's one thing of many things that when you watch a play, you're probably not thinking about. But if the actor and the director has done their job, those things will be clear.
I like Ms. Dickerson's comment, it was like timing, especially if you just have two people, and that timing between dialogues and the uncomfortable pause versus if we are talking in a normal conversation, there's really not a long time between the next person talking, and that seems to be a real art in itself, the timing back and forth.
And that's the thing that, again, some of you guys are still working on, and that's okay. It's that moment to moment to moment to moment, and it's that pulling out of, sometimes we go into moment, response, and actually the goal, and that's what repetition, you don't know repetition yet, Dr. Bell, but repetition
Yeah,
is
sit and practice.
It is,
Yeah.
it's just like our practicing our
That's right.
scales.
Yeah.
Actually, it's where you actually read the behavior of the other person and they read your behavior. It's very intimate, but like I'm like you're shaking your leg.
I'm shaking my leg.
You're shaking your leg.
I'm shaking my leg.
You're smirking.
You're smiling.
I'm smiling.
You're smiling.
I'm smiling.
You're smiling.
You're hanging out.
I'm hanging out.
You're hanging out.
I'm hanging out.
You're calming yourself.
I'm calming
You're
myself.
calming yourself. You're aware that we're being watched.
I'm worried I'm being watched.
So you're reading behavior and someone else is reading your behavior, and that is actually a technique that Sanford Meisner created that helped actors to learn so that that rhythm, eventually it's all about your partner and what they give you. So again, Athena, boom, 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 there was very few pauses, they were boom, they had no time to think, they just had to respond back and forth.
Wasn't it great?
Well, yeah, I thought it was a fantastic play. I thought they did a tremendous job. And I thought it was just, and it was an interesting play. It just left me thinking a lot about, because I think there's multi-level themes in that, and so it's an interesting play because you don't really know exactly what you're supposed to think, so you get to think about it. That's what I like about Urban. I think they do plays that leave you thinking, but not in the way that you're like, what just happened? Because those are like not where you're like, but it's more like, is the takeaway that women can't be competitive? Is it the takeaway that if we're vulnerable, we lose our competitive edge? You know, I mean, there's a lot of pieces, you know, I thought that was in it. So anyway, any other thoughts from our audience or actors? Yeah, go ahead.
Something for the faculty that I shared in class that's very interesting is, you know, when I go on stage, and in fact, with the baton, I didn't realize how important having that thing in my hand was, or my guitar. Because, you know, here I don't have that, you know, and it's really, I mean, Craig, it's a huge difference, you know.
Very vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, you feel way more. If I have that guitar, it's my buddy, it's my, you know, or even the baton. It's like, it's weird.
Well, I'll take a step forward. Your back is to the audience.
Yeah.
So you're really shielded, honestly, in what you're doing. As a conductor, they don't see your facial expressions. Now, they're building concert halls now where people can sit and watch, you know, the conductor.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, we always have an
answer.
instrument, and we talk about this with voice versus instrument.
Singers
Singers
have to be
have
the
nothing in
vulnerable.
front of them. Instruments might have a big tuba and a stand, and there is something between you and the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And,
interesting.
you know, and just one other thought, like my third line, they force you to be a couple, even if you don't want to. And like one of the things you were teaching us to do is see how many different versions of these verbs there are. I mean, it was like I came up with, I don't know, 10 or 12.
With your tactics?
Yeah, with the tactics, right?
Yeah.
Tying that in. And so it was like, you know, how can I make that work? You know, because force can mean so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so my decision was to play it lightly, because I don't want the word force to be scary. You know, it's like I force you to be a couple whether you want to or not. I mean, that's amazing. I must have tried that line 500 times.
Yeah.
It was a simple little thing like that was really hard to come up with.
Yeah.
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? Right? You know, that's, what was it? What's it from?
Taxi driver.
Yeah. Where he practices that line over and over and over and
Sure.
over, but it's in the film.
Yeah, that's
It's
exactly.
the same thing.
That's the same thing.
Well, and I really do want to say just real quickly to have Willis in the class and to be a professor here and have worked so long in your area of expertise. I just really applaud you taking the class, and I think it gave a lot to everybody because it's like we're always learning, and so it inspires me. You know, maybe one day I'll pick up my dream to play the guitar. I had that at one time, but it went away. It just feels like work now. But maybe one day. You know, but I just what?
Hippie beach chick, right?
Yeah, I did. I totally wanted to be that, and I wanted to do like all of James T. I wanted
It was
to do
like
that.
it was like Real Red and Woods. It's scary and exciting.
Yeah, but it's awesome. You know, I think it's important because it's been cool. So
is acting 2 next for this crowd?
So this crowd can do one of two things. If there may be 1 or 2 that are going to retake in the fall the full 16 weeks, either through lifelong learning since they've already got the credit, or they would take acting 2 in the spring if they choose to do that. But they can take voice and diction for credit in the fall, which is a very important class that everyone needs. I love you guys. We need voice and diction because the habits of the voice, guys, get in your way. Because what I see, even from back there, you might be doing really interesting things, but if you do not know how to, and it's literally, that is technique. It's literally like, you can have all the honesty, but if all the honesty is right here, and if I'm a talker who talks in here, it doesn't, so it's literally learning how to shift, and it's the air to actually be able, and then you can walk in any space, and you can be an urbanite, but even urbanite's deceiving. Because I will tell you, and it was funny, Tom and I I was like, she was my favorite. She was, we had our thing. But there was one that has stronger voice, and I was more drawn to that.
Yeah.
There was one that was quieter, and at times I was like, it didn't have the same fullness to me because you have to be in the same place. So if one is stronger vocally, the other one needs to match it.
Well, and that's who I've walked through here, those actors.
Yes,
And-
fantastic.
And we had just done a podcast interview with them, and I hope for it to drop today, but it's going to drop tomorrow probably, because it's just, but talking about voice and diction, there was something on there when I was editing it, and I said, this is a must-see play.
Yeah.
But it came out, when you transcribed it to musty, M-U-S-T-Y, is musty.
Yeah.
The program that transcribed what I said,
Yep.
because my diction wasn't good. This is a must-see play.
Yes.
This is a must-see play.
You have to hit your end consonants.
Huge
yeah.
difference, yes. And the voices that you're talking about, difference,
Yes.
same on the audio podcast.
Yeah.
You will hear one much more definitive and more
Right.
powerful speaking, and the other one, and it's the same, I'm sure it's
Yeah.
it's just more subdued and didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
And it's nothing about volume, it's just the tone of your voice.
And it's not, and the thing is, it's not to say, oh, that person's, it might be one has more training, one might be more, but it literally is, there's a certain resonance that you connect in your speaking voice, and it's just crucial. It's crucial, and what I love that you're bringing it into the voiceover world, because often people say, well, I don't want to do theater, I want to do film. Terrific. But you don't think Meryl Streep knows how to work her voice, So even in film and even in voiceover work, you have to know, and that's where like I love, I do it myself, but even when I see people that I think are far, I'm like, oh my God, I just see them and they read space, they analyze, okay, I'm on a voiceover right now, and they go through all of the checklist of what they have to do with their voice and their being to be able to do the Pixar whatever, versus when they're doing something on Broadway, because those are the pros that know how to do that. But you got to start with a voice and diction class to get the basics.
For theater, it's the energy is out here, but
Yeah.
on film, you take that same energy, but you have to harness it onto film. It doesn't mean that resonant, nothing.
Yes.
It's the, instead of this,
Yeah.
it's this. But it's
But
the
still.
same, it's the same thing. And that's, you said, that camera lens is your scene partner.
Yeah.
Do you think we could get like Johnny Depp to take your voice and diction class? Because I can't understand anything he says.
No.
It hasn't
But I think about
so
like a
far.
James Earl
No,
Jones, you know what I mean?
Oh.
It's like literally he resonates you through the film. You're like,
Yeah.
you're not even in the theater, you're not in the, because what's cool about theater is if someone is really resonant, you will literally, you will vibrate with them. You will feel, that's why I was so struck by the what's her name from the Tonys, is because usually I only have that experience where I burst into tears because I'm so physically affected by someo's voice. Did you all watch that? Because I sent it to you.
it did.
Joaquina.
It didn't make you cry. That's okay. It doesn't have to. But what, can you say it was at least
Well,
pretty powerful?
Let me.
I sent them all.
It did make me cry in the moment. Then I listened to like a song on my playlist right after.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, it
Oh,
crashed.
interesting.
It hit me so hard.
Whoa.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was a good song. And her performance was really strong. And oh my God, she can sing so
Right.
well. It's freaking crazy. And I was like, okay, cool. Time to go back to listening to my playlist. And then as soon as it was heavy rock or whatever. As soon as like they crashed the cymbals, and as soon as that first they hit the guitar one, I was like, it's over. It was gone.
Interesting. I don't know. Sit with that a little.
No, it was interesting. No, the lyrics
Because, I mean,
were
there's
so
something-
poignant to me at that
Yeah.
moment. I was like, she did it. She got it. She
Or
worked
maybe
really
even
hard.
just something in the class, because you start to, what was I
Yeah.
watching? I was doing something sad on the news. Oh, it was a CBS thing about all of the shootings in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And they're going around, they're doing a 30-day, this minister's leading this 30-day thing where every night they go out through their community and they're handing out job fairs and they're connecting with people because they're trying to get the shootings down because Philadelphia's gone insane with like
Yeah.
the crime shootings. But I'm like watching it this morning and I just wanted to burst into tears. I mean, just because it was so beautiful what this group of people were doing, but also so sad what their community is going through. So it will do that to you, is
Yeah,
my
it
point.
was fun.
Okay.
You'll find it interesting, the two actors in Athena,
Yeah.
the two main characters, actually have musical theater degrees.
Yeah.
One from Ithaca.
Oh, yeah, great
Yeah.
training.
And the one, Athena,
Yeah.
has played Wonder Woman in the Middle East in a big show over there. And
Oh,
I
how
thought,
cool.
perfect Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. She is a little Wonder Woman. That's awesome.
Have you seen, anybody in here seen Athena yet?
When did you guys see it? You saw it
We
Saturday,
saw-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about with all the
Sure.
physicality?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
cool, right? I mean, I just was like, I get so like, and then I'm like, and then I get like, it's so intimate too. Like, I'm like, they're doing all these things. I'm like, oh, they're getting ready. Okay. You know, I just
Some
get.
of the people I went with, they read for it and they were just
Yeah.
concerned going into it because they were like, we don't know what, how this is going to translate from, from script to action
Yep.
in there. And so, but when they finally saw it, I think it was, again, just that physical engagement
Yeah.
that really brought together the script, brought the script to life.
Absolutely. I think without it, it could have just text alone, two people talking, it could have just been, but because the director, I think Summer did a wonderful job of scoring the fights, bringing the journey together. So, and then you guys are going tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, awesome, Max, I can't wait to hear about it in acting one. I'm just kidding, guys, there's no pressure, but I just can't help
It's
myself.
what we do.
Well, what?
It's what we do.
Yeah, we just
Always
can't help
selling,
ourselves,
always
yes.
selling.
Well, thank you to our guests. I really appreciate you all coming. Thank you.
Very
Thank
enjoyable.
you.
This is the first one.
And acting class hangout, we're just gonna do a closure circle and send you guys on your way.